cadets, welcome to this online English grammar class for class 8. First of all, if you haven't subscribed the college channel yet, please do it. It is very important, and also do not forget to click the bell icon. As we all know that due to the worldwide spread of coronavirus, we are unable to continue the classes at college, and we also want you to stay at home for the safety of our cadets. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the part of the speech. In English, there are 8 parts of the speech, which is verb, noun, pronoun, adjectives, adverb, conjunctions, interjections, and prepositions. But before that, I will tell you what is the purpose of the language. Like all other language, the purpose of English language is also to communicate. Whenever we deal with the language, first thing that we have to deal is the alphabets of that language. And in English, we have 26 alphabets, out of which 5 are called vowels and the others are called the consonant. So the difference between the vowels and the consonant is that the vowels does not require the movement of lips and tongues while we pronounce them, like A, E, I, O, U, etc. And the other are called consonant. You can also call them letters. So, what are the letters? Letters are the written or printed symbols which represent a particular sound in a language. And there are 2 types of the letters. One is a capital and the other one is a small letters. And when 2 or more letters are combined together, they makes a word. Some words makes a complete meanings, while some words make half or somehow meanings. However, the group of the letters that has somehow or some meanings or a permanent meanings are called the standard English word. Walk, talk, sleep, fan, light, these are all words, and there are so many words in English. So now we know what is the alphabets, we know what are the letters, so we know what are the words, and now the very important thing in English is a sentence. Like a word, sentence is a group of words that makes a complete meanings. Now, here is one very important thing that you need to understand, that in sentence, however, there are certain parameters that we must have to consider while we are making a sentence, and these rules and these parameters are called the English grammar. And it is important to understand all the grammar correctly. The terms like subject, predicates, nouns, pronouns, direct, indirect, tenses, these are all actually the English grammar, and therefore I'm going through from the beginning with everything. So now you know what is the letter, now you know different alphabets and different types of alphabets and the sentence. Let's just discuss what is the formulation and what are the parts of the sentence. So basically there's 2 things that you have to be focused, or you have to be careful about it. All the sentence must have subject and predicate. And in English language, the formulation of a sentence is SOV, which is a subject, object, and verb. When we ever talk about the sentence, there's 2 things that you need to understand. Number 1 is the part of the sentence, and secondly, the formulation of the sentence. Sentence has 2 parts, which is subject and the predicate. Subject is a doer, so like he is a teacher. So he is a doer in this sentence, so he is a subject. Is a teacher is actually an information that he works as a teacher. So subject is a doer and rest everything is actually the predicates. So the predicates are your verb plus the object. So in our example, he is a teacher, he is a subject, and rest is our predicate. Now, the formulation of English sentence is quite different from our Urdu sentence. In Urdu, we have first subject, then we have object, and then we have verb. But in English, that's not the case actually. In English, you have a subject, then the verb in the middle, and then lastly object. So subject is a doer, verb is an action, and object is a receiver. So that's the formulation of an English sentence. But is that all? Actually, that's not the case. So English is a more complex language than this. We will be discussing everything in detail, so stay tuned in this class. Now we have discussed about the basics of the English language. So we know what alphabet is, we know what letters are, we also know what are the sentence. Now basically the part of speech are like a job titles actually. In English sentence, all the words are actually doing some job, and these are called a part of speech. Like in our first example, he is a teacher. In that particular sentence, we have four words. Number one is he, then is, a, teacher. Now he is a pronoun, is a verb, a is also an article, but it's adjective, and teacher is also a noun. So part of the speech basically tells us what a word is doing in that sentence. Now, as we know that we have part of the 8 part of the speech, now we will discuss each part of the speech in detail. Let's just start with the verb. I actually placed the verb on the top because of the two main reasons. Number one, the verbs actually describes the action in the sentence, and the second reason is the only verbs makes a tenses, and I'm sure that you know about the tenses like present tense, past tense, and future tense, etc. That's how we talk about different times, and to do that we just simply change the forms of the verb. So verbs are really important. So what does actually the verb do? So verb is actually a word that shows some action or state, and which means a situation or a time. For example, Ahmed goes to college daily. Now in this sentence, go is a verb that tells an action, which is Ahmed is going to college. So go is actually an action, and it is a verb. Now we are saying goes because we add es to go when we talk about a singular person or he, she, or it. So this is the example of a verb describing an action. Now how about he is a soldier? Now this is also a sentence, but here is actually a verb be, or being a soldier. So that is not an action actually. Soldier is actually a state that's showing a position of a person, that he's an army officer or he works for the army. So here in this second example, a verb is actually describing a state, being a soldier. Now the difference between the both example is, in first example we are talking about a physical action, while in the second example we are talking about a state. He is actually a verb be, but we don't say be, we call it I am, or he is, or she is, it's basically saying a verb be, and it shows a state like being a soldier, being a sportsman. Or a noun can be a thing like table, chair, computer, fan, etc., etc. These are all the examples of noun being a thing. Or it can also be a feeling such as love, anger, tiredness, boringness. These are all examples of feelings. Now the next part of speech is a pronoun. So what is a pronoun? A pronoun does the same job as a noun does. It is a word actually that replaces a noun. And what does replaces mean? Replaces mean that it takes the position of a noun. But you should ask why a pronoun should do that. And the answer is very simple, because to simplify the sentence, it is important to not repeat the noun again and again. Let's just take an example. Akbar is at the college with Akbar's class fellows. Akbar really enjoys spending times with Akbar's class fellows. Well, that sounds very unnatural. And can you tell me why? Or what is the problem in that sentence? Yes, the problem is that we are keep repeating Akbar again and again, and that's very unnatural. So now we have to use the pronouns instead of a noun. Let's just look at the other example. We can also say same sentence in this way. Akbar is at college with his class fellows. He really enjoys spending time with his class fellows. Now here, his and he is actually the pronoun that is replacing a noun. So now you know that the pronoun basically simplifies the sentence. So we use pronouns instead of noun. And the word like he, she, it, or his, hers, these are all the examples of different pronouns. Now, I want you to notice that the pronoun he is in the subject position. He is actually the subject of the word enjoys. Who enjoys? He enjoys. And the pronoun his is at the object position. Now, to replace a noun in the subject position, like Akbar, we use a pronoun in his or its subjective form. We also call them subject pronouns. And these are I, you, we, they, he, she, it. They are all called subject pronouns. Now we know that we use the pronoun to replace the noun to avoid the repetition in a sentence of a noun, which makes a sentence look more natural. Okay, the next part of speech is the adjective. An adjective is a word that gives us information about a noun or a pronoun. Let's just take an example of this sentence. They drive an amazing big red sports car. In this sentence, the noun that we are interested in is a car.